What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg, flying solo again today. Although kind of solo. I got JJ behind the camera, and so he'll probably chime in every once in a while.
Hey, guys.
Hello, Javier. So today we're going to be talking about how this is something I think Joe and I maybe touched on previously, but I did think it was important to bring it back, is basically the human aspect when it comes to a fitness program, and how there should always be some level of progression or next level to go to in order to keep someone engaged. And so I wanted to touch on how we go about doing that, so that if you're a member in one of our gyms, you can say, okay, cool, you know, this is A, the rationale on why they do the things that they do, and B, you know, if you're at a certain point in your fitness journey, different avenues you can go to kind of take things to the next level. So broadly, if there's not multiple ways for you to measure for success or avenues for people to progress, people will get bored and stagnant. Frankly, that was the biggest reason why, not the biggest reason, but I'll say why a lot of people who come into our program are like, I was bored. I'd do arm day one day, leg day the next day. And there are things to keep people engaged there if you do it the right way. You know, if there wasn't, then there wouldn't be a bodybuilding industry, right? But for a lot of people, it's like harder to track metrics there necessarily. And so that's why a style of fitness like what we do, a CrossFit style or CrossFit-esque style of programming, part of what makes that fun and engaging is what the gamification of the workout. So the founder of CrossFit, Greg Glassman, that was something he did. You know, there was an interview he did where it's like, he didn't invent gymnastics, he didn't invent body weight movements, he didn't invent lifting weights or any of that. But what he did was combine it in a way to get a really potent stimulus as well as be able to track progress. And so that's a lot of what draws people in, whether it's like tried and true hardcore CrossFit, or I'll say CrossFit derivative. Those are the biggest things. And there has to be a way to measure progress, right? That's why, you know, CrossFit, you know, the Open, they emphasize every year they'll do a repeat workout to try to gauge progress. That's why people have been really into like Spartan races in the past, or now High Rocks is huge, right? And for those or Spartan Deca is another thing. Those things is like, it's the same circuit every time. And so the premise is like, can I train and get a PR on that, right? And so there has to be ways to do that. So there's multiple ways in our program that we try to measure progress. Very basically, if you're someone who's brand new, the first way we'll look at is like, are you coming to class consistently? So it's like, if you're someone who's inconsistent in coming to class, then the first step is, can you come to class 3 times a week, right? If you're doing that, cool. That's the first barrier. Second one is learning all the verbiage and movements. That is actually a big barrier for people, and a big marker of success is when they start to get into, and every coach knows this. So when you have a new person and you could tell like, all right, like they're starting to get into the rhythm and the groove of class, that's another check mark, right? There's a guy on Instagram. I think his Instagram handle is like Meme for Time. You ever see that guy? He's look him up. His stuff is like hilarious. He does like this one video. It's like a coach at the whiteboard, and then it's like it flashes back and forth between like experienced CrossFitter who like has his shirt off, like kind of like looking at the whiteboard, and like inexperienced person. And the experienced person, they hear like, all right, guys, we're going to do 5x1 squat clean, you know, clean pull, squat clean. And it's going to be at this percentage. And then it flashes to the new person. It's like,
It's a different language.
Yes.
I remember when I joined back in like, it was my freshman year of high school. So like 2015, 2016. That's exactly what it was. It was like, you're just saying weights to me. Like, given this is like my first an impression of just like lifting and like workout culture. So like, you're just saying this random stuff to me. And even like when I took all those years off and I came back recently, throwing stuff at me. There's times where I'll be in the gym and we'll be doing a program, something different than what we actually have programmed for class. And we're going to do one hang, pull, clean.
Yeah.
And I'll just stare at Corey. I'm like, what's that? And then she'd be like, oh, it's just this. And I'm like, no. Like, show me what that is.
Yeah.
So the verbiage is definitely something that you got to learn.
For sure. And that's honestly, guys, that's for a new person, that's a big marker. Like when you start to get it, when you start to like, okay, I've heard that before. I know the points of performance, and it's more the coaches reminding you and then cueing and correcting and adjusting your movement. That's a big marker. That's a big improvement there. The next one, and this one can get convoluted, is when you start to progress from scaled to RX movements. The reason why I said this can get a little convoluted is you get people who can start to do some of the movements, who then push to do all the movements or all the weights. We've talked about that before. And then they totally miss the mark on the stimulus, or all of a sudden they're hurt and they don't know why. And it's like, well, because yes, you could do a bar muscle up, but it was chicken wing every time. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. But it's like the coach was there being like, hey, maybe not do that, right? Let's practice. And you're like, nah, bro, like I can do it. Don't do that. But as you start to progress, doing things RX, starting to get some things RX. And that was again, another reason why CrossFit started to put like an RX in there, and why we've adopted that at our SA Fit gyms, is not because it's like a dumbbell snatch at 50 pounds is this magic. 50 pounds, guys, it's arbitrary. I'm going to be honest. It's an arbitrary weight. 135 for guys in certain movements. It's kind of arbitrary, but not really. It's arbitrary. It's just because it's 45 pounds on each side of the bar, and the bar happens to be 45 pounds. So it's 135 pounds. But it's important to have that because you can then start to create stimulus and guidelines around some of those. And then you have a mutual language that you're talking to when someone has a goal of what to get to, right? If it was just like, oh, hey, we're doing power cleans. It's like, all right, well, how many of them? At what weight? How long are we doing them for? Is there rest, right? That's why you start to create some guidelines and guardrails, is just so you can say, yeah, hey, Grace is 30 clean and jerks at 135 pounds. And if I do it for the first time in my life, it's a win because I did it at 135 and it took me 10 minutes. And then the next time I do it, it took me 5. I have gotten more skilled, more proficient, fitter. Like, it's an objective measure. And it's not always a measure of cardiovascular fitness, right? But it could be you just learn how to clean and jerk better. But that's an element of fitness, which is coordination and strength, right? And so you can objectively say your fitness as a whole has improved, is a big reason why we do that at our CrossFit gyms, and then have adopted that at our SA Fit gyms.
Grace is a baseline workout too, by
yes,
the way.
Sorry.
That goes back in the verbiage.
Yes, for those of you who are unfamiliar with CrossFit, Grace is a named workout. It's like a standard that, like, again, you can do and measure your progress against.
It's all right. I also struggle with all those, like Fran, Grace. I know Murph just because it's a
we do it every
thing.
single
we
year.
Do it every year.
Yep. And that's another one, is like being able to do, and that's why with our programming, we try to repeat one conditioning piece from the previous cycle, is so you could be like, okay, cool. Let me look at what I did on October 21st, 2025. And because we're doing it January 11th, 2026. And it's like, oh, in 3 months, I did it way better. I got a faster time, I got more reps. I was able to lift a little bit heavier. And it kind of pushes you to continue to progress forward. And so that's another thing, is like RX or not RX, whether there's a marker or not, being able to, and I'll say this, occasionally repeat workouts and track progress. And I say that because it's like, you shouldn't be doing this. Oh, I do this workout every week. No, you haven't given yourself enough time to adapt, right? And you're going to plateau in it at some point. But if it's like, I repeated this workout 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and I'm going to repeat it again in 6 months from now, like big chunks of time allows you to track progress. From there, it's like, okay, now that I can do maybe the movements RX, and now I'm able to track progress. The next thing from there is saying, okay, do I want to get more honed in on my goals? So what do I mean by that? I want to run specifically a local 5K. I want to do a Spartan race. I want to do a CrossFit competition. I want to name the fitness avenue. You start to get specific in your goals, you can then start to get more specific in how you deliver your fitness service. And so that's why we offer things like personal training. That's why we offer a service called hybrid programming, where you're taking class, but then you partner up with a coach who's giving you something to do before or after class. Let's call it a half hour, or hey, you have running intervals. So instead of coming into class 4 days a week, you're coming into 3 and you got a day of running intervals because you want to put up a good time in that 5K. Whatever the case may be, Utilizing those services is allowing you to then hone in on the specificity of your new goal. So you see how I took you from beginner, new person, never done a back squat in my life, to now someone who's like, okay, I've been coming here. And honestly, that's probably a couple years of coming to the gym. Someone who's become very specific, and how our program offers levels to hit on each one of those things to keep people progressing. And then the way we deliver fitness in general, as JJ can attest to at our CrossFit gyms, there's always a skill to learn. There's never never a time where you've mastered every skill that could be thrown at you. And so if you're someone who is either in our program or is listening to the podcast and considering a new fitness program, if you're at a gym or going to a fitness program that doesn't show and demonstrate consistent ways to progress you for years, you're probably going to get bored or stagnate at some point. So make sure you're communicating with someone, again, whether you're looking to a new fitness program with one of our GMs or the other place that you're looking, to make sure they have those markers so that it's preventing you from having an issue down the line. The next one is nutritionally. When it comes to nutrition, in my opinion, there's a lot of people, because again, Google is like a wild thing to try to do, who try to put the cart before the horse, right? The number of people I see who are like, I'm intermittent fasting, or I'm going keto, or whatever the case may be. And it's like, well, how long have you been doing that? Well, 6-7 months. Have you lost any weight, made any? No. All right. And it's like, yeah, they're doing intermittent fasting, right? So they have like a 12, 16 hour window that they're not eating, but then what they are eating the rest of the way is like such junk. Or it's like, they're like, okay, I need to eat healthy, so I'm eating salads, which is like the running of nutrition. It's like, oh, I need to lose weight, so I just start running, right? It's like, okay, well, you're not eating any protein, and actually you need that to build lean muscle mass to get to the body composition you're looking to do. And so you're actually not even eating close to the way you need to get there. So we have multiple ways that we address nutrition. So first one, let's say someone comes in day one, they get what we call our level 1 nutrition plan. Now that meal plan is pretty restrictive when it comes to food choices. But the reason why we do that is the KISS method. We try to keep it simple, stupid. It's like the more options you give to someone, especially someone who doesn't have the mental bandwidth or buckets to start to sift through the noise, they get lost. Dave, who's on with us a lot, he has a great saying that he says, start slow with fitness, meaning your first couple of days in the gym, you're going to be sore, but you should be moving at a pace or lifting a weight that you're like, all right, this isn't that hard, because you're going to be sore anyways. And so start slow with fitness, but he says start fast with nutrition. So like, get the Oreos out of your house, right? Go to the grocery store and start planning your meals for the week. And I always thought that was a pretty cool saying to make it like really easy. Slow with fitness, fast with nutrition. And so what we do with that is we make the food choices small, and we really try to we try not to get into the weeds when it comes to calories or this, that. It's like, hey, you need a serving of protein, eat 6 ounces of chicken, right? Get a scale, measure it. If scale stresses you out, measure something about the size of your palm. If you're a bigger person, maybe slightly larger than that. Get veggies and get some carbs with breakfast, or a little bit of fat with breakfast. And then we just try to make it super, super easy. Everything is color coded, right? Because it's like, to make it even easier, don't worry about protein, carbs, and fat. Eat the red, right? Like, make it really, really easy. And I'm honest with people. The meal plan we give you on day one is not something you're going to be eating forever. And the reason why we do that is because, again, we want to condense it down to make your choices simple, but also from a psychological standpoint, I need to prove to you that we know what we're talking about. There's a lot of fitness people, especially with Instagram now, a lot of people out there that are vying for your attention. I need to get you results right away to earn your trust. And then once we do that, we can start to add other foods back in and layer in other choices. So that's why we have our level 1 meal plan and why it's structured the way it is. After that, we go to level 2. So level 2 is after your initial 6 weeks with us. You get, there's way more food choices on the level 2 meal plan. It's not as restrictive by any stretch. There's a couple other sections on it, like, for example, like a fatty meat section and what to do with that. And then we kind of add in a little bit more carbs, a little bit more fat. We'll adjust maybe your protein a little bit, and it becomes a little more specific to you and where you're at post your 6 weeks. We recommend that most people follow that meal plan. They'll follow one version of it for maybe 4 weeks, then we'll redo it. Then maybe they'll follow another one for 4 weeks. And depending on the person, they could go back and forth on various level 2 meal plans for anywhere between, let's say 4 weeks to 6 to 12 months, depending on who they are. But it allows people, again, things to get a little bit more specific, but not to open up the floodgates completely. And then our level 3 includes macros. So it allows for a macronutrient breakdown. So if you're not familiar with what that is, protein, carbs, fat. And so there are some food choices on there for people who want to default to that, but it does at the bottom give you a calorie breakdown and a macro breakdown. So for example, if you're going to go out and eat ice cream with your kids, you're not left thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get fat. I'm going to go blow up. I don't know what to do. No, you have layered on this point conversations. You've layered good habits. You've learned what the macros are. You've learned how to track them. And so you're able to enjoy, to use a common term, a quote, cheat meal, right? Able to truly enjoy it, not have the emotional response to it, and then just adjust how you're eating the rest of the day, that day or the next day to make sure you don't fall off the wagon with your goals. The reason why I lay that out is because I do feel like a lot of fitness programs will be like, all right, you need to eat this many calories and your macro breakdown is this. And I have someone in there who's like, I haven't eaten broccoli in 3 years. It's like, you know what? Let's start with eating some veggies, right? Let's start super simple. And then on each step of the way, we address the emotional aspect of nutrition, because that's something that, again, a lot of your stock personal trainers will be like, here's a meal plan template, just eat it, without realizing that like so-and-so is a stress eater, or so-and-so gets hungry late because their insulin sensitivity is off, and having to inform them on like, okay, we need to backload some fat and protein so you're not hungry, or are you really hungry, or are you just bored eating? And if you're bored eating, what do we do to combat that? What systems or habits can we put in place to replace those old systems? Instead of snacking on this, snack on this. So those conversations need to be happening every step of the way. But that's how we would progress someone from a nutrition standpoint, to be able to make sure they're always adjusting, they're always progressing. And again, once you start to get specific goals, we can tailor your macros to move towards those goals.
And the biggest thing there too is constant communication.
Yes.
Bottom line is nutrition is by far the hardest thing to change.
For sure.
Because it's not like working out where you go to the gym for 45 minutes to an hour, maybe 2 hours a day, right? That's however much percentage every day. You're eating constantly.
Right.
24/7. You are constantly having some kind of meal, some kind of hunger, some kind of craving. So nutrition is rough, especially in the beginning too, because you're changing your diet. And that's where these nutrition plans, like, they're good to start to follow, and you're not going to follow the nutrition plan for the rest of your life. Right. It's not going to be there for that long. It's just about building the habits and understanding. I know you talked about this in one of our most recent episodes of, you are at that point where you need however many grams of protein, you can eyeball 6 ounces of chicken. That's going to give me that. And you're not following a nutrition plan to a T anymore. You're just at that point where you've been following one for long enough to where now you can just eyeball it and understand that this is how I can adjust my meal, and this is going to help me also reach my goals for the day. And that's the biggest thing with these plans, like just habit building. Understanding that, all right, this food is going to be good for me, this food's going to be bad for me. I want to target the good foods mainly, while also having some of the bad just to help my cravings. Because I struggle with cravings. I need my little sweet treat at the end of the day, or at some point during the day. And that's the biggest thing with these nutrition plans, as I keep saying, is just habit building and understanding the overall basics of food and what you should be looking for and what you should be actually putting into your body. Because, like, even if you're not working out, you should still be eating healthy.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, even looking at things as like, not necessarily foods as good or bad, but like understanding what you're putting into your body, right? Like ice cream's maybe not, like, don't phrase it as bad, but it's more like, okay, well, understand what you're doing. Like, you eat a lot of ice cream, you're going, if you don't regulate the rest of your calories, you're going to have maybe some fat gain, or there's going to be some inflammation because of all the sugar and dairy in it and stuff like that. And so it's like, it's not optimal for maybe what you want to do, but you're right. It's like, there are some people who want to count macros for the rest of their life, right? More power to them. That's not me and you, right? And honestly, that's not 90% of the people out there. But you're right. It's like, okay, it's at the point where you follow a meal plan, or you count your macros for long enough that it's like, okay, I can eyeball it. And then because we're human, our calibrator might get a little off, and you have a good way to look at that or know that's happening if you're honest with yourself, because you step on the scale at our gyms, the in-body scale, or you look in the mirror and you're like, it's been 3 weeks now and like I don't look as lean as I used to. But again, at that point you have the skills that you can be like, all right, let me lock it in. Let me count over the next couple weeks. And then you're like, oh yeah, I have been overeating in carbs or protein or fat. And it's like, you got to recalibrate. And then it's like, okay, I've been recalibrated and I'm good for the next 6 months or so. But again, that's why we structure it the way we do. Exactly like you said, nutrition is really hard. And a lot of people go and Google, what should I be doing? And you have people who had success on the all fruit diet, or quote unquote success, right? And it's like, oh, I guess I got to eat nothing but fruit. And it's like, no, stick to the principles, stick to what works. But again, have places for people to go and progress to. And then all of that is wrapped in our program around the bow of accountability. And so that's why you have a general manager reaching out to you, making sure you're staying on track. If you haven't been into the gym in 2 weeks, they're reaching out to you to be like, where are you at? That's why you have coaches in the gym who are keeping your movement safe and sound to make sure you're maximizing your results. And so again, this is kind of like harping back to maybe some previous episodes and topics, but I did think it was important to readdress, to basically be like, if you're a member at one of our gyms, we have all these services in place. So talk to your general manager to be like, if you're someone who has a specific fitness goal and you're like, okay, hey, I want to really push towards X. I want to push towards this CrossFit competition, but I don't have some of the skills necessary to compete in the RX division, and I want to do that. Talk to your general manager, because what they can do is get you hooked up where you're doing a personal training session a week to work on those skills, or hey, we'll do hybrid programming for the next 3 months to get you prepped for that, or whatever the case may be. Or if you're someone who's starting to flirt with like, hey, okay, I've progressed through the level 1, the level 2, the level 3 meal plans, but it's getting towards summer and you're like, you know what, I want to just be like as lean as, and just one time to be as lean as possible for summer or whatever the case may be. And it's like, cool, meet with your general manager. They'll be able to really dial in your macros, and that's baked. That one's baked in your membership. So that's available to everyone who's a member with us. And then again, if you're not a member of one of our gyms, I would encourage you to
join.
Yeah, well, there's that, join. But broadly, if your gym doesn't offer those services, or the big one's nutrition for me. So many gyms are like, yeah, we offer nutrition, but it's like all this extra money more. It's in our membership, guys. And so if it's something where you gotta, have all these things bolted and added on at every step of the way, or they're not even offered, which unfortunately is also very common, join us. But more broadly, you should find a program or a gym that offers those constant ways to progress in both the fitness and the nutrition side. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys. As always, like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Instagram. Give us a 5-star rating on the podcast platform you listen on. See you at the gym.